Are you a hardworking dad, juggling family responsibilities while dreaming of building wealth through real estate? Welcome to the Invested Fathers Podcast, where we explore how to balance investing and fatherhood. I'm your host, Kenny Johnson, founder of East West Capital. Over the past 5 years, I've been buying real estate to free up my time and secure my family's future. Now I'm here to help you do the same. Join me as we navigate the real estate world together, building wealth and strengthening our families. As my grandma always said, East West, home's best. In this episode, I want to speak directly to my invested father, who is trying so hard to make the best decisions that he can for his family right now. And I just want to sit down with you and bring some relief to your pursuits through the next couple minutes. What would you say is one of your biggest fears right now in your life? What is something that just keeps you up at night? There's an inner struggle that potentially no one really knows that you're going through. I want to take a minute and just call out a few of the fears or burdens that I have faced and continue to face that I'm sure all of us dads have faced at one time or another or will be facing. So here we go. Bank account isn't big enough. If I had more money, I'd be able to sleep better at night. My role as a leader of the household is weak at best. Who am I even leading? I'm not confident in how I'm choosing to spend my time throughout the week. I wish I had more energy throughout the week. Why are my kids not listening or obeying or making good choices? Is my parenting completely off? What about my relationship with my wife? Am I intentionally working on dating her regularly? Am I speaking her love language? Does she know that I truly love her and am devoted to her? I'm sure there are others out there that I didn't mention. I just hit the highlights. And hey, I'm not a counselor. I'm not a preacher. So what could listening to this episode bring to you that might change some of these areas of your life? Man, I have so far to go in all of these areas, but I can tell you that I have been flexing the muscles of growth and change, specifically since my daughter was born 3.5 years ago. And my goal is to share the action steps that I have taken to bring some guidance to you, my dad out there right now, to increase your growth and change. First, you've got to start with your why. This is your foundation. Health, wealth, marriage, relationships, energy level, leadership, all the things that we listed that we're struggling in. Changing those things won't matter until we can clearly state why we want to change those things. Don't overthink this one, but make sure your why is big enough to make a change. I want to tell you a story about 2 years ago. I went to a real estate conference and was talking with another investor regarding how hard it was for me to wake up early. I don't know how the topic necessarily came up, but I had read the 5 a.m. Club book. I had set alarms. I had tried running, early in the morning, and was just trying to get this health kick going. It just wasn't working. And this lady looked at me after telling her this and she said, "Kenny, your why just isn't big enough yet." And it took me a second to let that sink in, but she was absolutely right. And I want to add to what she said, that is, time is not working for us right now. Each day, each week, each month, each year, we'll never be able to get that back. Can't be redone. The decisions you made to scroll on social media for 15, 30 minutes, or not eat clean, or sleep in, you can't get those back. And I'm not saying that we can't take breaks in our lives, but if your why doesn't have a time element to it, make that part of your why. I want to lead, provide, and care for my family every day. I want my wife to know that beyond a shadow of a doubt, she is the most important person in the world to me, and she knows that. And I will love her unconditionally. I want my kids to know that their dad did everything he could to teach them the best things in life are things that you can't buy at a store. My second point is, now that your why is clear and big enough, it's time to take action. What does this look like? It literally means to make a change in your life. We resist change all the time. I made a change last May to start working out in the morning. How was I able to do this? This was the power of who. I met up with my dear friend Josh one day, and I hadn't seen him in a while. And the first thing I noticed is that he's just looking strong. And he's someone that I would say looked similar to me in size and stature, kind of tall and skinny. But now he had muscles. And I was just like, dude, what did you do? what happened? I hadn't seen him in a few years. And he's like, I just started working out. And I said, can I join you? Like, when do you work out? We kind of lined up our schedules, and it did work out perfectly because he worked out in the morning. And I was like, please let me just shadow you for a few weeks. And I was actually feeling very insecure because I thought to myself, this is another opportunity for failure for me. I start doing this thing and then I just stop. But through going to the gym with him, it had made all the difference in my weakness of giving up or being lazy, sleeping in. This is a game changer for me. And there's a book out there called Who Not How. And the whole purpose of the book is quit asking yourself how to get these things done and start finding who can help you get these things done as you help them be their who in some way. Coaches, counselors, cheerleaders, discipling others. Start writing down names of people or finding names of people who can help you face your next challenge. I get all the time, man, I can't find my first deal. Hey, I can't find the money to get into real estate. I'm having a hard time hiring somebody right now. Whatever it is, the problem could be solved by, I just need to figure it out. That's the hard way to do it. Or it's who can help me get this thing done? You got to start building your empire. Until recently, I hated that word empire. It made me think of these big, evil, money-hungry power sharks who wanted to conquer the world and squash anyone in their way, or just being selfish. And I'm changing the way I think about that word and have changed it in my mind to mean, who can I empower to help me reach my goals? Have you ever noticed that the way most people talk about successful people is how mean they are and how they manipulate or enslave all the people around them to just give away their life to make them millions? And and honestly, that's crept into my mind, feeling envious, but also looking down on them as they did it wrong. So, they didn't do it the right way. If I were doing it, I would do it a different way. That mindset has become so repelling to me when I hear other people say that, and to be careful how I think myself, because I'm starting to understand that the vast majority of people who are content to live a small and poor life in the comforts of the safe and mundane is by their choice. Now, let me say this. I'm not talking about just finances here. I always go back to the parable of the talents I mentioned in a previous episode on my worldview of investing. Jesus tells the story about how a master gave large amounts of money to his servants, and the servants that used what they were given were rewarded. And the servant that did nothing with what he was given, which was a lot, by the way, the master punished him. I have to believe that God has given us so much. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about our gifts. Now, am I wired the same as you? No. But I know that we were made to do great things. I know this in my heart. So what do these great things look like? They look like walking by faith and not by sight. They look like being uncomfortable. They look like having restraint. They look like having integrity. They look like helping someone when no one else will know, and you have absolutely nothing coming back to you as a reward. Loving your enemies. Giving away more of yourself than you think you should to your neighbors or your coworkers. Maybe saying no to other people so that your wife has more time with you. I understand each of you have a different walk than I do. And if you're listening and you're a Christian, God calls us the body of Christ. He calls the church the body of Christ. And as a body, we have a variety of different gifts and abilities that we get to use. I was recently on a call with a bunch of investors yesterday, and we were listening to this guest speaker, Dan Martell, who I'd never heard of before, but he wrote a book called Buy Back Your Time, which is very popular, and this guy is very successful. I loved his enthusiasm into the message of redeeming the time that we have. He says, life is hard, so choose your hard. The main word there is choose. Do you feel like you're a victim to life's hard knocks that just keep beating you up from the circumstances that you're in? Or are you the one climbing Mount Everest right now? And man, the journey is uphill and hard. You can barely breathe, but you're on your way to the top because that's what you chose to do. And when you've reached that summit, you can look around and say, that was totally worth it. So here's my key takeaway for you all. I trust the message of change and growth never becomes dull to you because we were made to thrive in this life. Are you thriving? That's what I want for you and for everyone out there. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Invested Fathers Podcast. If you liked this episode, we would love for you to click subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. We appreciate all of your hard work as a father and look forward to our next episode together.